to Sirus Migration live session on Thursday. I'm Suriapa, a registered migration here in Australia, and I've got my lovely wife right next to me, Ashani Apa. She's a migration agent as well. And today we're going to talk about business visas in detail. We'll be talking about 188, 132, and 888 permanent residency visas in business visa category. If there's any questions, please feel free to type your questions down below in these comment sections, and we will endeavor to answer as many questions as possible. We are here live in both Facebook as well as YouTube. So we've had many difficulties last few days when we were answering questions in YouTube, as some of the questions disappeared. So if you were one of them who asked us questions and your question disappeared and we couldn't answer you, my sincere apologies, but please feel free to contact us via any of the information or the contact details that we have provided below. We'll be, Ashani, you wanna start some stuff about, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hey, my name is Ashani Apa. I'm a registered migration agent here at Sirus Migration. So we go live every Thursday, 4 o'clock Brisbane time, and it's all about Australian visas. And in today's live session, we are going to focus about getting permanent residency, Australian permanent residency through business visas. So there are a few visa categories, but our main focus today is going to be on subclass 132, in which you can get Australian permanent residency through business visa. The visa has few streams, but we are going to talk about the significant business talent, significant history stream, and what an applicant can do, what is the eligibility requirements, and what happens when you get the visa, and how long it takes, everything to do with this visa. If you have any questions about this visa or any other Australian visa, please comment below, and then we will try our best to answer all your questions.
You may also contact us via any of the contact details. So one of the frequent questions we have, when we're talking to the clients, they have a big confusion between one state's requirements to the other state, and they're going, what's all about states and why it's not, what's the immigration involvement with the state nominations and stuff like that with the business visa. So start with the business visas. Invitation only visa is an invitation only visa category where your application has to be invited to apply for this visa. So that's where the state involvement is. The state government decides they would prefer to have your proposal and have you as a candidate for their quota, which they get given within during the federal budget. And once you get the invitation, then you're eligible to apply for the visa. So you need to have a unique identification number through the invitation. Sorry, I talk about global talent a lot. Sorry.
To lodge the visa. So
yeah.
With subclass 188 as well as subclass 132, the first stop is getting the state to give you an invitation.
Yeah.
So when it comes to this stage, for both subclass 188 innovation stream and also subclass 132, we have to send a proposal to the state government or the agency who looks after that business section and get their approval. So we have to tell them, if it's a 188, this applicant has this many points, and this is what their proposal for your state is. This is how many jobs they're going to create, and this is what they're going to bring in. And if the state is happy with that, then they will give you an invitation. So as an applicant, you have to fulfill the requirement by the state as well as the requirement by the Home Affairs. So normally the requirement by the state is either equal or higher than the Department of Home Affairs requirement. So as long as you meet both of these requirements, you should be good for the invitation as well as the visa application. So we thought we will talk about subclass 132 visa because we have had many inquiries.
Can I disturb? Can
Sure.
we quickly go through? Is it the same requirement for each state, or is it different? Because some clients we should talk about why different states have different criteria. Whereas, for an example, sometimes we see when business visas are point-based, is a point-based visa system, which I guess Ashani's done quite a few videos on that. So if you like to learn a little bit more about business visas, please go to youtube.com /Sirus migration and look for business visa points table. That'll explain most of the points table, how it works. But when it comes to your points yourself, there'll be different states got different benchmarks. So we've seen in past experience for you to get a response or invitation from Victoria or Melbourne, you need to have 105.
I will comment on that.
Sometimes.
But they have mentioned that if you don't have 85 points, then sort of you're not going to get an invitation. I'll probably leave it at that. Get in touch with us personally and we will let you know more about state points. But today I will talk about department requirement as well as the state's requirement. So for example, if you take subclass 188, the professional visa, department has given us very clear guidance of what they look at. The applicant has to be, for example, under 55 years old, the main applicant. But then again, South Australia has a stream where we can get an age waiver. So that is why we said there's a state requirement and also there's a home affairs requirement. And another example would be department says you have to invest $200,000 into a business. But in New South Wales, if you want to start your business in Sydney and be eligible for permanent residency, then they expect you to invest $500,000 into a business. But if it is regional New South Wales, then it is $300,000. So as I said, states have different requirements and home affairs have different requirements. Don't get confused. It's very important you fulfill both requirements. Otherwise, or you make sure you are ready for both requirements. Otherwise, you will be wasting your time and money going through something if you don't know the full requirements. So for subclass 132 visa, which is permanent residency, even though the permanent residency will be granted and you move to Australia, keep in mind that you are subject to monitoring for the first 3 years, which means the department can come and check if you're doing what you promised in your business plan when you applied for the visa, or if you're underway of fulfilling these conditions or these things that you promised and making sure you are delivering them. Otherwise, your visa can be subject to cancellation, even though it is permanent residency. But for subclass 132, the good thing is there is no points requirement. So last week we talked about 188 and how you have to meet minimum 65 points. But for subclass 132, there is no such point requirement. So that's when I advise clients, if they're struggling to meet the points requirement, but if they do have the other requirements of 132, then that is definitely something that they can pick over subclass 188. So the minimum requirement set by the Home Affairs for subclass 132 is net asset value of the main applicant and the dependent or the spouse has to be $1.5 million. This is 1.5 million Australian dollars. And the turnover of the main business or two main businesses combined has to be 3 million Australian dollars in at least in the last two of the fiscal years within the last 4 fiscal years. Again, keep in mind, different countries have different fiscal years. For example, Australia's fiscal year goes from July to June, whereas India's from January to December, Sri Lanka's from April to March, Japan's from January to December. So given your country, you have to prepare the financial audited reports. That's how you prove your turnover, and it has to be at least 2 fiscal years within the last 4, has to have at least minimum of $3 million.
With the personal assets 1.5 million, it's between the main applicant and your spouse. So
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be just the main applicant itself.
So, and then the last requirement is net business assets has to be 400,000. So this again, sometimes clients do get confused. If you have shares in a business and if you're a director of that qualifying business, let's say if you have 60%, then 400,000 has to be net assets in the balance sheet, 60% of the net assets. So your share has to be 400,000 in the business. So as long as you fulfill these requirements, you are basically eligible for subclass 132 visa to lodge an invitation to the state. So then it comes, when you lodge an invitation for subclass 132, we normally prepare and give the state a really extensive, detailed business plan and make sure the state is happy with that. With that plan. So that's when it comes, different states have different requirements for subclass 132 again. Different states expect you to invest different amounts of money. I probably wouldn't go through each and every state right now because we have limited time, but
today.
do get in touch with us. We will first discuss what is the best state for you, and then we can go ahead and tell you what is the exact requirement for the state. And some states do have requirements, like right now, especially they are looking for businesses who's going to help the state economically or in any other way to come out of COVID-19 crisis. So there are different requirements. And when we lodge for an invitation, we have to make sure that we fulfill all these requirements. So guys, we are getting questions now. So I think we will get to some of the questions.
I've got a question here from New Quality Media. Hi, I guess we've spoken to you last week as well. It's good to hear from you this week too. So already last week requested about the businesses. Which are the territories open for submission?
Yeah, so Queensland is currently open. They are accepting applications, but they are not granting any invitations until they get quota. New South Wales is open. I think Western Australia is also, we can lodge, but most of the states are open for us to lodge the applications, but you will not get an invitation until their quota opens, which is happening in December or January. So this is a really good time for you to start preparing to lodge an application. And I've got a question here, Krupal Patel.
There's another part in here.
Oh, okay.
So quickly, for business registration in Australia, virtual office is okay to run the business. Virtual office is okay.
No, for the permanent stage, they expect you to stay in Australia. There is a minimum stay requirement, and also there you have to have management involvement in the business, and we have to prove that you manage the business, day-to-day business in Australia. So a virtual office running from a different country during the whole visa process may not work in your favor for the permanent residency.
I guess if your question is focusing on having a virtual office just for sake of having an office, like I've seen certain businesses such as transport businesses, logistic businesses, where you do not require to have, some people run it from warehouses and other places. So in that case, you can have a virtual office, but you are physically expected to run and operate and manage the business here. But to register the business you need to have a physical address, not just a PO box.
Yeah. And I've got a question, Krupal Patel. Just one question, carry forwarding from last session. PMS Oil given priority regardless of visa subclass, or is it for particular visa type? So right now, what the department has told us is PMS Oil is for employer nominated visas, you will be given priority. But when we saw few states opening with interim allocations, they basically open for some of these occupations only as well, because they are the occupations that department has decided that they're going to help with COVID recovery. So to answer your question, right now the priority is given for employee-nominated visas. Yes.
So I've got a question from Vendor Chandra. Does the subclass 132 have an age limit?
Yes, subclass 132, the main applicant has to be under 55 years old. That is for the business talent stream. But if the age is an issue, there is subclass 188, SIV, Significant Investor Visa, which doesn't have an age limit. But for that visa, you need to invest $5 million for 4 years. That is the visa with the age waiver. And also, if you're looking for an age waiver, then South Australia has their own stream. If you're willing to locate in regional South Australia and invest a little bit extra, then they also have an age waiver. So get in touch with us. We'll be able to look at your case personally and give you suitable advice.
Abdul Sami is asking another question. Subclass 188 processing time for offshore according to the recent changes. So,
right now, it is quite sad. The processing time is quite high. It's about 2 years, and we have seen cases go even over 2 years. But we are hoping that the processing times will be lower. But right now, at this stage, we haven't really heard anything, any news, anything that I can confirm here about any shorter processing times, but that is what we are hoping for as well. So it's one and a half to 2 years or even a little extra right now.
I've got another one here. Mitali Taka, how much time required for 309 visa processing time, as I have lodged a file on August 19. So it's about 3 years to
309 these days takes about 1.5 to 2 years, depending on your relationship as well. So if you lodged August 2019, I think you will still have to wait a little bit extra time, but always get in touch with the department and follow up with them. Sometimes that helps, and see if you can provide any additional documents, or if there's any compelling reasons why you should get the visa granted sooner, then you can get it. You should get in touch with the department, but they are doing their best to give the visas granted. Their world also turned upside down with the COVID-19, as we can all imagine. So yeah.
Abdul Sani is asking another question about 188 visa, I guess. Sorry, the questions.
That's okay. I'll just go to a question in Facebook until then. So Saila Laulu, I'm a New Zealand citizen and my husband is an Australian resident. So I am entitled to apply for residence visa through him. Yes, you can apply for permanent residency. I believe your husband is an Australian permanent resident or a citizen. If that is the case, then you can apply for permanent residency through your husband. That's right. So Saya, maybe we will send you our information. Get in touch with us. I'll be able to give you advice on that. Yes, you are eligible to apply through your husband.
And Wendan Chandra, there's a question asking, can the investment be in the government bond?
Yes.
I guess 188B.
Yeah, so if you want to invest in government bonds, then there is a category, subclass 188B. It's called investment category, where you have to invest $1.5 million in government treasury bonds. And also, please, I want you to understand that this investment in government bonds has to be done for 4 years, but that is not at the time of lodging the visa. So people are asking about how long it takes to get the visa granted and all these questions. So it takes about 1.5 to 2 years to get the visa granted, but you don't need to do your investment in government bonds or in a business until you actually get your visa granted. For subclass 188B for government bonds, you only need to make the investment when they're about to grant your visa. So that is the last thing you have to do. And for business innovation visa, you don't need to do your investments or start a business or anything until you have your visa in your hand and until you move to Australia. So all these investments has to be done once you're here in Australia or once you're about to get your visa. Same for subclass 132 as well.
So with this government bond, you will be earning a bit of interest as well.
It's about 2 point some percentage variable interest per year. It's not too much.
It is a fair bit of money considering the interest rates fluctuations lately. So, and also bringing that into another frequently discussed matter. A lot of our clients, they panicking a lot, buying a business as soon as they apply for the visa, and they hear this is there are businesses going in and out, and you should buy a business before you come in and stuff like that. So if you applying or if you applied for a business visa, you are not required to buy a business at the time you arrive in Australia. So you can get your visa granted and arrive in Australia, and you still have enough time to find out what's the suitable business, do your feasibilities, understand the demographic and geographics better before you invest into that business. So
because the visa is granted for 4 years and 3 months, and the longest requirement is for you to run the business for 2 years. So which you can do the maths. So you have extra additional 2 years and 3 months for you to prepare and be ready. So you really don't need to do the investment until you come here and then get settled for 6 months or so. Then you can plan on that.
So I've got a question from Abdul Agrava. If director does not stay in Australia, but he keeps manager and other people to run business, is it okay? He may come and go.
So this comes to the residency requirement. So as a main applicant or secondary applicant of the 188 visa, either the main applicant or the partner of the main applicant, there is a residency requirement. So unless you can fulfill the residency requirement, you will not be able to apply for subclass 888 or the permanent residency. So that's where the issue comes in. And we normally, because of that, we suggest our clients, we normally tell them at the time, this is the residency requirement, and please make arrangements and make sure either you or your partner can fulfill the residency requirement, because there is normally no waivers available for this residency requirement. There has been a few concessions because of COVID-19, but I'm talking about in a normal scenario, you must fulfill your residency requirement.
So 188 visa has different streams, 188A, B, C, and D. So 188A has a higher residency requirement in comparison to 188 C and D, significant investor and premium investor.
Yeah.
Significant investor need to invest your funds at least $5 million in Australia, and $15 million for premium investor. So when it comes to those two categories, the stay requirement is a lot lower.
Yeah.
It's 1/3 of the year.
So I've got Gopi ready asking a question. When will the BSMQ open? Very good question. I'm also very interested. We are keeping an eye on. We believe BSMQ will open hopefully in December, if not definitely in January. So that is the expectation. If you are someone who's willing to apply to BSMQ, do get ready. Keep your EOI ready. So as soon as BSMQ opens, you can go ahead and lodge.
So I got a quick question. Any chance of getting state or family sponsorship? This is from Ash. With 90 points. I guess she's talking about 190 and 189. And the answer is, at the moment, there's no 190s processing in Victoria, if that's the question. And Sukhman Pal Singh, can I get PR in Victoria for applying for 188 and 888?
Yes, so Victoria State is open for 188. As I mentioned earlier, the requirement is quite high. I think they have the highest requirement compared to other states. But once we look at your profile, once we see how many points you have, and once we see what is your business plan, if it is really good, if it's something that the state likes, then yes, the Victoria State, you can apply 188 and 888 and get permanent residency.
Next question again from New Quality Media. 132 processing time is same as 188.
132 processing time is slightly longer than 188 because for 132 it's permanent residency, and the document requirement is also a little bit high. You have to give more details and more documentation, and even the business plan has to be more detailed. But it is permanent residency. So to answer the question, it is little longer than 188 processing.
If there's Abdul Sami, if someone has lodged Visa Subclass 188A in March 2020, is there any possibility to get it before June 21?
I cannot really comment on that. You may have a chance, you may, because we don't know how the processing times will change. So it's something really hard to predict. But if your business plan is quite important to the economic recovery, maybe you can put a business case and see if they can prioritize your visa. Get in touch with the team in Adelaide, business visa processing team. Other than that, normal processing time right now, it's about, I've seen clients go over 2 years sometimes, so it is quite long.
Got a question from Akshay Joshi. His 482 visa for management consultant was lodged on 10th of July this year, and he hasn't heard back from the DHA. So
I don't know, Joshi, if you have your nomination approved yet or not. So these days, I think the processing times is about sometimes 6 to 8 months. Sometimes it's quicker as well. But if your occupation's in PMS Oil, which I don't think management consultant is, you will be given priority. If not, 482 visa has also been taking a bit of time for processing. So you will hear from them, and then if your employer is interested, maybe they can get in touch with the department to find out where they're at.
Texas got a question about 491 visa, and he's heard from one of our videos about 491 visa. How long will the processing time take?
Stream?
What's the success rate? 491's got different streams, so not sure which stream you're referring to.
But yeah, roughly 491 sometimes has been taking about 9 to 10 months for processing if you have the invitation.
Tanu Ratan's asking what are the employee visas for sponsorships. 482.
Yeah, so there are a few subclasses for employee nomination. Temporary ones are subclass 482. Permanent employer nominated visa is subclass 186. Provisional employer nominated regional visa is subclass 494. Different visas have different occupation lists. So it is a very large area. But if you can narrow down your question or get in touch with us and share your personal profile, then we can give you more tailored
408
advice.
Training visa.
407.
407, sorry.
Yeah. So I think, guys, we are running out of time. So I think it's a very successful. Oh, sorry, I've got one last question. I just saw that Gobind. Hi there. Is there any chance of PR after age of 45? So Gobind, that age 45 cuts off many of your options, such as skilled migration and employee nominated visa, but there are some age exemptions available for certain visas. Even employee nominated visas, there are some age exemptions available, and business visas you can as well. So yes, there are opportunities available, but a lot of your opportunities for skilled migration gets finished when you turn 45.
Unless you come to global talent, it doesn't
Yeah.
have big restrictions, but you need to be in one of the targeted sectors. If you refer to one of our videos, you'll get to know much more about global talent visas, and also you need to be in a high income threshold. You're earning 153,600 or above, or have to have a recent graduation from a master's, PhD, or even a bachelor's with exemptional.
Bachelor's with honors with GPA over 80%, or the ability to attract the high income threshold.
And also, even if you're 45, if you've got about 4 to 5 years of business skills, your cutoff line is 55. So
there are some dharmas available in South Australia and other states, which has age exemptions, which means if you have an employer who's willing to sponsor you for one of the occupations that's in a dharma list, then sometimes you may be able to get age exemptions.
Dharma is the designated area migration program. So if you like South Australia, Northern Territory, all those regional areas, they have a separate program for certain skills and certain age limits, intensifying you to migrate to their areas. So that's available. I can't believe this half an hour goes so quick. I would love to sit down and keep talking, but unfortunately we have to get going.
Like that.
So thanks very much again for joining us. I think we completed and got through to most of the questions through YouTube, but Facebook, there are a few questions pending. Don't worry, we will get back to you soon. We'll type the answers back to you. Alternatively, if you'd like, talk to us through Facebook or WhatsApp or something. And if you've been engaging with us during this live session, we will answer your questions freely and promptly.
All right, thank you everyone. We will see you next Thursday from Brisbane once again to discuss Australian visa options. Until then, have a safe week.
And wonderful stay during the weekend and enjoy your time.